Hello and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire, and today I actually have a shorter video for you. Now, this video shares a fast technique that allows you to make multiple cards at once. Today I happen to make 4 cards at once, but you might be able to do a few more or a few less, depending on what supplies you choose to use. This technique allows you to quickly color die cuts to add to a card to create really bold, fun looks. Now, I'm going to start out by creating the die cuts, and then we will put all 4 cards together, and I'll show you how I kind of batch create these so that I have 4 cards ready to go. Okay, let's get started. I have Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Dye ink here. You really could use any inks that you want here. The reason I chose Simon Says Stamp is there are lots of colors available, and I find that these kind of blend in and kind of pull back a little bit into the paper, and so they're great for doing ink blending or any kind of inking like I'm doing today. I'm also using a Tim Holtz brayer to apply these inks down. Now, you could use a blending brush for this by all means. I just find a brayer is really fast to use, and for this technique you don't need a great blend. Now, I'm putting a light ink down first. So you see here this is a light pink, and I'm making sure that it overlaps with what we just did. Then I'll come in with a slightly darker ink and go about halfway with that, and then an even darker ink, which is taffy, and do that only at the bottom. So what ends up happening is you have lighter amount of color at the top of that piece and a darker amount of color at the bottom. This will allow me to get more variation out of the die cuts that we'll create from this. Now, I am overlapping colors that overlap well here, right? I've got yellow, I've got orange, I've got pink, and then we'll do purple. So you want to overlap colors that look nice together or are close to each other on the rainbow. Now, again, all of the time here I'm going lighter on one end and darker on the other, just for that variation. I am not taking care to do a great blend. That's not what this is about. It's just about getting a variation of color onto that cardstock. If you don't have a brayer, you can go direct to paper or you can use blending brushes. I just find brayers really fast to use. Now, this is an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of Simon Hurley white cardstock. You could do a full sheet if you wanted to, but I did a half sheet because I thought I could get enough die cuts out of this sheet for the projects that I want to do. So now this, you can see I just have lots of color down, doesn't have to be blended, and it's time to start die cutting. I'm using the new Simon Says Stamp Pretty Poppy dies. Notice there are 2 dies that cut petals for those 3 flowers, and then 1 die that cuts the stems and the flower centers. I'm just using the petal dies right now to cut from that colorful cardstock. Each time I die cut, I'm taking those little petals and putting them in piles of flowers that I'll form. So there are similar colors on each of the petals, but a little bit of variation. So I'm not putting the yellow petals with the purple, I'm keeping the yellow ones together. And I'm just following that little picture that is on the packaging for these dies. So I'm putting these dies as close together as I can so that I can get as many die cuts as possible from it. And I get enough to create lots of flowers. Now, I still have some inked paper up there at the top, and I don't want that to go to waste, and I think I have enough flowers. So I looked through some other dies that I had that are smaller that I could possibly use here. I thought I'd show you the options and then the ones that I chose. I considered these other flowers. These are the Simon Says Stamp Snowbell Bouquet dies. I also considered a single bunny, which is the Cuddly bunny, and I considered the darling Duckling. I almost did that Duckling. I think he's so cute, but in the end, I decided to go with the bounding bunnies because they're small, and I could cut a few colorful bunnies and have them kind of hopping across a card. So using the remaining portion of that inked cardstock, I'll die cut a bunch of bunnies. So you can see how from one sheet, I get lots of die cuts for lots of cards. And we're just going to layer these together and get a really unique artistic look from them. And it was fast to ink up that cardstock because I used the brayer. This is much faster than finding colors of cardstock in your collection that work together. It's more fun to just do this, and it's so fast to do. Okay, let's finish off our flowers. Remember, there is the die that cuts the stem and the flower centers. I thought it'd be fun to do these from gold cardstock. So I have Simon Says Stamp gold matte cardstock, and on the back of it I have already placed a piece of double-sided adhesive sheet from Altenew. That way when I die cut from this, it'll have the stick on the back already, so they're basically like die cut stickers. And it'll just make it easier to add those little stems onto our card quickly. Now at this point, I counted up my die cuts and I figured I could make 4 cards from all of those die cuts. So I need 4 backgrounds next. Got all the die cuts down? Now let's do the backgrounds. I thought it'd be fun to keep those backgrounds plain white so that the color really pops on it. But I wanted to have some interest to it. So I did what I usually do when I need a little bit of texture on the background or even a lot of texture, and that is embossing folders. I chose 4 different embossing folders from Simon Says Stamp. I'll show them to you in a moment. They have 3D embossing folders that are really thick and they give beautiful, beautiful impressions. I use them a lot in videos, but you could use any embossing folder here that you want. I'm using white cardstock, misting both sides with some water, then putting it into the embossing folder and running it through my die cut machine. I'm using the Empress die cut machine, and I find that the sandwich that works best for these folders is 1 clear plate, then the embossing folder, and then the metal shim on top. But you can use these with whatever machine you may have. So let's look at the 4 backgrounds I did. I have the Cubical Illusion embossing folder. This one is really, really unique. This would be great from a metallic cardstock because it would really capture that dimension. And it's something that I think could work on a variety of cards, so I definitely wanted to use that today. Next, we have the Wiggle Flowers embossing folder. This one's neat because the petals have varying amounts of depth to them, so it really gives you a lot of fun texture. This one's great for those spring cards that I know I'm making a lot of lately. Then we have the Stacked Flowers. This is a unique look. It looks like these flowers are kind of overlapping each other. And again, you get that varying amount of texture, which really makes it stand out, and something that, again, you can get from these 3D embossing folders. And my favorite from the bunch is a classic one. It's the Dotty Diamonds embossing folder. This one you could use for really any occasion, and you can see the different size of dots, and they are different depths, so really gives a stunning result. So I have all of those 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches from white cardstock. I'm going to let them dry a bit because I misted them with water to get a deep impression. And while they dry, I can start putting my petals together for my flowers. Remember, I put them in little piles of petals that layered together based on the picture of the packaging. So it's very easy to do this. And there's already adhesive on the back of those little gold centers, so those are easy to add on too. I'm using Gina K Connect liquid adhesive in a fine tip bottle, along with the Gina K pickup stick that allows me to pick up those small die cuts and place them exactly where I want. Now you'll notice as I layer these together, it's not a type of layering that I normally do, where there's like a dark color cardstock on the first layer, a medium color cardstock on the second layer, and a light color on the third layer. Instead, these are just like mix and match from the same little color families, and it gives a kind of artsy look. So you can see how there's variation of pink and purple together on these flowers, and I think it's just a fun way to create colorful die cuts. This is something you can try with any layering dies or any single dies. So grab your dies, grab your inks, and just make a bunch of die cuts at once. Next, I have my 4 backgrounds laid out, and I'm starting to put onto each background the die cuts or layered die cuts that I want to go together. On one of them, I'll have the bunnies, and on the other 3, I have kind of like a part of a rainbow of flowers going across. Now I'll put liquid adhesive on the back of my backgrounds and glue them right onto the front of an A2 card. So this is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'm putting something heavy on that while that dries. And you can see I'm starting to do batch creating here, right? I created all the backgrounds, I'm gluing them all onto note cards, and then we'll go and add the die cuts to each. So on the Wiggle Flower background, I'm using the bunnies. And I thought it'd be fun to have these bunnies kind of hanging off the edge. If I do this, I'll just need to put it into a bigger envelope, either an A6 or 5x7 envelope. As for that sentiment that says happiest birthday, I'll show you where that's from in a moment. Once I have all my die cuts in place, I'll again put something heavy on it while it dries. Let's move on to the flower cards. Thankfully, I've done all the prep, so these come together very quickly. The stems are easy to add because I've already put the adhesive on the back of it. So anytime you have intricate die cuts, try putting adhesive on the back of your paper first, then die cut. That way it turns them into stickers and they're faster to put on. I did add the flowers with foam squares so they have a bit of dimension. Now let's go back to the bunny card because those die cuts are dried. For the eyes, I decided to use Trinity Stamps Glossy Black Gems. I just think this makes them pop and gives it a little bit of sparkle. And for the tails, I'm using little white pom-poms. So these are tiny white pom-poms. I hold one between my fingers and I cut a little bit off like one side of the pom-pom. So one side is a little bit flat, and that flatter side I glue onto the bunny. That way it has a little less dimension and it stays put while it dries. And I know this Gina K adhesive will definitely dry nicely and hold those in place. I just thought those little bunny tails were fun. Now for the sentiments. On the flower card, I chose the Simon Says Stamp Mod Plants stamp set. There is the stamp set, there's a coordinating die set, and there are stencils. I'm just using the sentiments today. I like the style of the Hello Friend, so I stamped those with black ink on white cardstock and used the coordinating dies to cut them out. I wanted little sub-sentiments underneath the Hello Friend on a couple of my cards, so I chose the CZ Design Thank You Basic stamp set. Lots of great options on here, and I really liked some of these smaller ones like You Really Saved Me and I Appreciate You So Very Much. For the bunny card, I used the Simon Says Stamp Irresistibly Cute stamp set. These are adorable images, and I really like the sentiments, and that happiest birthday was perfect with my bunny die cuts, but you can see there are a lot of other great images in here too. So all of my sentiments I did with black ink. I just really liked the bold black against that bright white background and then those colorful flowers that stand out. And then of course the gold adds a little bit of shine to it. So here you can see on two of my cards, I added a little sub-sentiment, and then on one card, I just left it as is. Now off screen, I did add some little gold gemstones scattered on the flower cards. Finally, I chose matching envelopes from Simon Says Stamp, and I put the flap of the envelopes into an embossing folder and ran it through, and that way the texture on the envelope, or the flap of the envelope, matches the texture on the background of the card. This is a great way to really pull the envelope into the card design itself. You spend all this time on the cards, you might as well make the envelope nice too. So here is the little bunny card. You can see his cute little tails and the texture on the background. I also like how quickly I was able to create those little die cuts using some of the leftover inked paper. Then we have our three floral cards. Notice how I did the yellow flower on the left, the pink in the middle, and the purples on the right. And notice the different colors that I have in the petals. I really like this technique for giving that variation in layered die cuts, and it was so fast to do, especially because I used the brayer for all of the inking. You can see the fun texture on the background, along with the little gold gems that match the center of the flowers and the stems. And I again want to say this is a great technique for any dies, layering dies or regular dies. Create a background from white cardstock, which is less expensive than color cardstock, right? Start with white cardstock. Ink it up however you want. Direct to paper, blending brushes, brayer. I find brayer super fast. Doesn't have to be blended perfectly at all. Die cut as much as you can from them and then go to town making lots of cards at once or saving all those die cuts for when they're needed. You can also do that inking technique for your sentiment die cuts. So if you are interested in the products that I use today, they are linked below in the YouTube description. And I really appreciate you spending this time with me. I hope you like the shorter video. I haven't had any lives this week, but I will be back soon with more. I needed to take some time to catch up on some other work and organizing. I will link here at the end to a couple other related videos that I'm hoping will inspire you. I hope you have a good day and take care. I'll see you soon.